After nearly 2 years trying to figure out how to get there, my father and I were finally given permission to travel to the North Korean capital of Pyongyang. This is the story of our journey to reunite with our long-lost relatives. So the first letter came in 1986, but I don't think I was really aware of the letters until maybe until the late 80s when I was a bit older, when I started seeing these different stamps, and then it was only in the recent years that I started investigating what the meaning of those letters were and where they came from. There were some overseas Koreans that had relatives in North Korea that they had lost contact with during or before the Korean War. And so they organized amongst themselves to gather all the family information from the different Korean families living in Canada. And then I'm assuming they sent the information to North Korea and to South Korea, and they cross-referenced registries. Because I know the Red Cross was doing similar things in South Korea for the families living there as well. And so once they found a match, I think they would forward the information to the families. And so my father had written an initial letter, not knowing if they would ever get a response, and lo and behold, in 1986, my uncle was able to send a letter from Pyongyang. They started a communication over many years following that for almost over 20 years. And the thing was that it's very fortunate that our family was living in Canada, because had we been living in South Korea, we may not have ever been able to send and receive those letters. So it was delivered to us through the Canadian Postal Service. And it's when the letters stopped in 2007 when I decided to investigate the story and to make the film. It was there was a lot of waiting, because I made an initial request for a visa, but I was also very clear from the beginning whenever I contacted the North Korean authorities, which was done through the DPRK mission in the United Nations in New York, that I wanted to make a film about my family and also visit them and to document that experience. So, I mean, there was initial reluctance on their part for sure, but I garnered some support from the Canadian ambassador in Seoul as well, and he endorsed the project. And then I just kept in contact with the North Korean authorities, and eventually they allowed for me to come into Pyongyang to meet the family and also to document the experience. And so I would say it was a period of almost 2 years from when I started to try to go there until I actually went. I think it's just meeting the people and also my family, of course, and to have that moment of closure for my family, but also just to meet people and to talk to them, not as a politician or as a journalist or and to connect with them and to realize at the end of the day they have families, they have hopes, they have dreams, they realize they're living in a difficult situation, but they are actual people as well. Yes, so one of my cousin's daughters got married since then, and we hear news from them like every now and then, but no, obviously it takes time for the letters to get here. So they're doing well. So yes, like when I was in Qatar. There was a teenage Saudi boy that came up to me, and he was really emotional after the film, and because in the Middle East there's also a lot of political conflict and divided families, so there are similar situations happening around the world, and so people can relate to it. And even after the BBC radio interview I did, I got a message from Sierra Leone, telling me how they were touched by the family story of separation and our reunion. And so I think people can relate to it because of the themes of family. I think it's really the fact that time is running out for a lot of the divided families, because they're getting so old now, and a lot of them are just dying waiting. So I think it's a very urgent situation for a lot of families who still have not been able to reconnect with their relatives. And so that's what people should keep in mind.
살던 고향은 꽃 피는 산골 복숭아꽃 살구고 아기 진달래.
More letters would be sent over the next 20 years, until one day, the letters stopped coming. Plans to visit North Korea took on a new urgency. For more than 6 decades, war and politics had cut us off from part of our family. Getting into North Korea remains a complicated process. After nearly 2 years trying to figure out how to get there, my father and I were finally given permission to travel to the North Korean capital of Pyongyang. This is the story of our journey to reunite with our long-lost relatives.